Hello and welcome back to another modification review. Today we're going over a mod that adds in the High Elves, and it's currently in a very alpha stage right now. It'll be developed over time. If you'd like to keep track of it, I do have a link to the modification down below. I'll go through the backstories of a few units, or at least a few lines of lore about them, that way you know who they are, from what I can remember. The High Elves have a lot of units here that will be placeholders. The Shadow Warriors are kind of easy to slap in here just because of the units of the Wood Elves that are pretty much applicable to them. They're pretty cool. I'm using Alith Anar as my leader. I know that right now he's planning on adding in a lot of heroes, lords, and all of that over time. A lot of it, again, still in the beginning stages and will be changed over time. Here's Alith Anar. Alright, let's go ahead and let the enemy army charge forward. They have marauders, they have trolls, giants too. Yeah, so the High Elven Kingdom is comprised of many different kingdoms, each having their own individual leader, and to unite them all, you have what is called, or who is called, the Phoenix King. And then, of course, you have the Ever Queen, who comes from the Kingdom of Averlorn, and they all contribute their own unique forces to the armies of the High Elves, and that's why they're actually very cool. You think they're just kind of goody-two-shoe elves. They're very unique. Alith Anar is known as the Shadow King. He comes from the Kingdom of Nagaryth, and his people were greatly betrayed and troubled by Malekith, you know, the Witch King of the Dark Elves. Whenever Malekith betrayed his people, he went after the hill people of Nagaryth heavily, and these would be the Shadow Warriors that would come about. They would swear an oath to the goddess Morai Heg, and they would swear to kill every Druchii ever. And so that's kind of their big goal. And here you have the elusive Shadow King, Alith Anar. He kind of comes in and out, destroying whatever Dark Elves he's able to. Then you've got the Lothern Sea Guard over here. They come, naturally, from the Kingdom of Lothern. And every individual kingdom will donate its own type of warrior. Here in Lothern, they donate Lothern Sea Guards, who are very apt at use with a spear, with a bow, and they often fill the crews of ships over around Ulthuan, which is the High Elven Kingdom. And that's kind of their role there. I'm trying to think about all the other lore that I need to kind of go over here. Spearmen, you know, just spearmen. You know them. Archers are over here. Sisters of Averlorn, if I remember correctly, they are handpicked by the Handmaiden over in Averlorn, and that's just kind of their role. They're very elite for what they do. They are the personal guardians and handmaidens of the Ever Queen herself. That's why they're very powerful. Let's go look around. And here's the Shadow Warriors again. Illyrian Reavers, they come from Illyria. And it was around the time when Malekith first betrayed the Elven people that you had Kalidor the First, the Phoenix King of that time period, who called upon a lot of young nobles or whoever wanted to ride to come ride for him and fight for him. And many came from Illyria. They were very skilled at riding, and they would be called his Reavers, which is a name that they would use ever from that point on. Here come the trolls right now. If we look at it, we're destroying a lot of them. There we are. I remember a lot of the lore just because I read the books a long time ago. I can't remember too much, but I remember a fair amount. Then you had like the White Lions of Krace, and they were huntsmen in a very harsh land called Krace, and eventually they would save, I believe it was Kalidor the First. They would use their mighty two-handed axes, and they would often train up White Lions too for combat, or you know, they would hunt them down and wear their pelts. But yeah, they would actually train them and use them in combat. You would have many kings who would try to offer them new weaponry, but they would actually choose to use their own two-handed axes as they were heirlooms in their families. Yeah, there's the Phoenix Guard over there. It's going to be a pretty tough fight. Oh yeah, the Swordmasters of Hoeth. If you have any type of unit that is probably an elite killer in the High Elven Kingdom, it would be the Swordmasters of Hoeth. They hone their entire lives, or they hone their skills for their entire lives, rather, in the art of war. They can hold a point and just kind of dance around with that two-handed blade. They're meant to be very fast and very powerful too. Here come the Marauders right now. And while not the most prolific overview of lore, I hope that did kind of give you a bit of understanding if you didn't have any about the faction. In the future, when the High Elven faction comes out, I'll probably do a lore overview I probably need to do more of that. I know that people enjoy it. I try to reread books wherever I can. I don't like to read off of cue cards or whatever. I try to rethink and convey it as best as I can. But here they come right now. Ha! That was pretty cool. But they're going to lose quite a few now. Oh, and of course there would be great eagles. The High Elves are able to communicate with them. That's why there's one kingdom in the Wood Elven Kingdom, or one glade, rather, where you have a people that are actually able, and I believe it's Arguelin too, the one where you represent Durthu. Anyway, they're able to communicate with the Great Eagles. They hold on to their High Elven customs the most. But that's a bit of lore. And now we can watch the battle play out for now. Yeah, the High Elven faction and a little modification called Beginning of the End Times from Medieval 2 is really incredible. I remember the White Lines. They're very cool in that mod for sure. It'll be great to see like what they do with the High Elves later on. Yeah, Warhammer Total War would be really incredible whenever you got all the major factions all fleshed out. It'll be a game that I think people will play for a very long time. My only wish for it is that we have different siege battles. I think that's a pretty common suggestion. I wouldn't mind having more to the campaign map. As far as trade, I would like to have more details to it. I mean, I know that they wanted to make it accessible to people who are new, but after you're not new, you probably want a little bit more complexity in order to configure things as you want them to be. Because right now, it's pretty simple. That Great Eagle is really powerful. Wow. And I wouldn't mind better animations, not for the giant creatures. The giant creatures are always incredible, but I just mean like the actual individual soldiers. At least like swordsmen and crap, where they're leaping in the air all the time, jumping like 5 feet in the air and trying to hit people. Imperial swordsmen come to mind. At times, less can be a lot more, and that's just kind of how I view it. Had a bit of a hiccup for a moment, it looks like, but it's okay. It's usually a new thing with mods, too. You'll have a hiccup here and there just due to some new models or whatever they've altered. I had one mod where I couldn't even play it. It was like causing some type of sound distortion. It's a pretty cool battle to watch, though. I would rather do a replay so I don't have to command them and we can just kind of watch it and go through the fight while they're all fighting. But no, I love the High Elves quite a bit. I never really got to play one of Warhammer Online, but they were always really cool to me. Warhammer is like the perfect game for a MMO too. If it has any type of combat, it really needs a new form of combat, like in Black Desert Online, where it's very action-based with combinations and all that. I can't really handle the normal stand there, tab, and hotkey type stuff. Not anymore, not after playing VDO. I wouldn't mind having another Warhammer MMO at freaking all. I would love it. Apparently a lot of people are liking Age of Sigmar now. Maybe not for the changes in lore, but for the actual gameplay. They've added in a point system and they're really modifying a lot. I think they're really trying to keep up now. There's so much competition, they're no longer the only kid on the block, and now they have a lot of competition and they have to do better, and right now we're heavily outnumbered, it looks like. Yeah, we have an enemy lord coming to fight us and we're just trying to shoot him the hell up. He's just kind of charging in. We're heavily outnumbered. They have over 4,000 warriors and we're still fighting. Nitty gritty. We're getting at it. Another thing that I would really like to see for Warhammer, and I haven't seen the new Age of Sigmar books, but having a consistent art style has been great for Warhammer 40k, at least in the, well, they won't be doing it anymore, but the Warhammer 40k RPG books. They're no longer tied to that company that would make that, which is unfortunate, but I assume they're planning on making their own RPG in the future. But yeah, for like 40k, they would have the same artist, and it was like a very updated art style too, and it was very cool, because I mean, a lot of old art that you see for Warhammer very outdated. The art style is a little bit questionable, and you're like, okay, that's the 80s. A lot of perms going on. I wonder how a Age of Sigmar game would work out. They would really need to flesh out the lore for the planes, though, and all the realms. But either way, we still get to play in Warhammer Fantasy, so I'm not too fussed about it. It doesn't really bother me at all. It's not like I played the actual tabletop. The rules are too convoluted, so the actual gameplay of Age of Sigmar, to me, is probably better. Especially if it's comparable to War Machine, which I prefer as a tabletop game. But for lore, I mean, I'm not too fussed. I can still play games like Warhammer Total War and be okay. I really wonder why they opted for like a more cartoony manner of like death animations and things like that. I have no idea. It's really interesting. I think making it as grim and gritty as you can is pretty good. I do like the color palettes more though. Like until Total War is completely washed out, the color palettes are so plain looking, it's really not enjoyable to look at. I went back and played it a little bit and I was like, wow, this is really unpleasant to look at. Just a very washed out color palette. It's really incredible how colors alone can just make or break a game, at least in a visual aspect, to me. And I know we're talking about a bunch of different things, but I went over all the little bits of lore that I wanted to. I think I got a majority of it. But right now, we've won our battle. Illyrian Reavers, Lothern Sea Guard, Archers all around. And if I got any of that lore wrong, let me know. Oh, wow, we have one guy over here left. That's pretty tragic. I know when the High Elves are out, they will have to add in naval combat. They'll pretty much have to. That is such a large component of Dark Elven and High Elven society. You have to have it in. A lot of their culture is defined by that, especially the Dark Elves. I mean, it's essentially defined by their capability to go raid, to go enslave, and their massive black arcs and things like that will be incredible to see in combat. So I'm sure they're going to be working on that as well. But that is the battle, that is the modification. I do hope that you enjoyed this mod review. If you did enjoy it, please leave a like down below. If you would like to see more mod reviews, let me know, and I could definitely do that. I view it as kind of my role to kind of introduce mods to everyone. You might not know it's out there, but I can show you, and then you're like, oh hey, might as well check it out, and it helps with the mod maker going, hey, people like my work. And then you check it out, and it encourages them, and we're all happy about it. But yeah, let me know if you want me to cover more mods, and hopefully I'll be more coherent in future mod reviews. It's been a while since I've done one. And as always, until then.